Cape Social Development Department launched Child Protection Week yesterday. This year's theme is Let Us Protect All Children to Move South Africa Forward. The department will be hosting a series of events throughout the week to drive the theme across. Well, to tell us more, we're joined from our Cape Town studio by Western Cape Social Development MEC Albert Fritz. MEC Fritz, good morning and thanks for your time this morning. I mean, we're having this discussion just a couple of hours after the shooting of Sadia Sukraj, and I know that happened in Chatsworth. You're in the Western Cape, but it goes to the entire topic. Also a couple of hours after we heard the gruesome details of what happened to little Courtney Peters. I mean, how would we expect South Africans to be feeling about this morning?
Good morning, and good morning to all the viewers. Good morning. I think I just lost the last bit, but I got the gist of what you were asking. I want to start off by saying that we must continue to suggest and to say that child protection is everyone's responsibility, that we must make it everyone's responsibility. The Courtney Peters incident is an absolutely beautiful example of what exactly we need to do, because the perpetrators are right in your house. They're right inside the house. And I think that's the kind of problem that we're experiencing all the time. So I think those are part of the first point I just want to make. You know, and one of the important points that we emphasized yesterday was that together with government and all our NGO partners, and we have launched this beautiful program yesterday called The Eye on the Child, where we are using volunteers to be the eyes and ears of the department and to really keep an eye on the child, on every child. And we are really rolling out that far more extensively for this new year coming. So this week, I know everyone is saying it's just a week. It's a week where we want to emphasize and to highlight the issue of child safety, and that child safety must be everyone's responsibility. We live in a province where I think up to 30 children since the beginning of the year were murdered. Murdered by a boyfriend of the mother, murdered with people within the house or a neighbor. Most of the cases, they knew the people. We must really stop the killings of all of our children. You know, and yesterday's case in KwaZulu-Natal, another example of absolute criminality that must stop.
All right, MEC, unfortunately, I'm going to have to leave it there for now. We seem to have a problem with our link to you. We'll try and fix that if we can, but we got the gist of what you're saying. I'm not sure if you can actually hear me now, and if I'm clear, because we did have a problem with our sound there. MEC Fritz, can you hear me clearly now? I think you were battling a bit earlier.
I can hear you clearly.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, you've launched the theme saying, you know, let us all protect or let us all protect children to move South Africa forward. And you mentioned in your answer there that, you know, when the perpetrator's in your home, when the perpetrator's in your community, when the perpetrator is actually a teacher in your child's class, then who's the us who should be protecting our children when those people should be the us?
That's a very, very good question, because the us will continue to be our partners with government in the NGO sector, our neighbors. You know, sometimes our neighbor is the perpetrator, like we had the case in Cape Town where the man next door was the perpetrator. So we want to ask all good people to be our ears and our eyes. And we launched yesterday also in the Western Cape, we launched the rollout of the Eye on the Child campaign, which we have found to be very good. And it's really assisting, where we get volunteers in the community. You know, there are a lot of public-spirited people in our communities, in our roads, in our neighborhoods, who really look out for everyone's child. And we want to bring that back, because I think we have lost a bit of the community spirit in protecting our children. In our school system in the Western Cape, we have what we call the walking buses, where parents walk children to schools because of the gangsterism that's happening, you know, within the Western Cape. I also want to say we will not be able to do this campaign without our social workers. And today I want to really pay tribute to our social workers who get victimized, who get attacked. So 2 of my social workers were last week shot at, and unfortunately, or fortunately for us, the gun didn't go off. So we're saying that's the conditions under which we work. And I must tell you, legitimate as it may be, the protest action going on in the Cape and all through the country, it's really hampering our services, and I'm really worried about the vulnerability of our children, specifically during, huge uprisings where our services can't be rendered in communities.
MEC, I mean, also just looking at the very brutal nature, I mean, every murder, whether you're a child, whether you're an adult, is brutal. But when we look at what's being done to our children, not just a matter of, just finding a body, but we're looking at children being mutilated. There's a story of those 2 little girls earlier this month as well, here in Gauteng, where we saw they went missing, and then, mutilated bodies being found. Also, several cases. There have been so many in recent weeks. I mean, you barely go a day without a front page describing a very brutal murder of a child. What is that telling us about why the perpetrators are acting out in this way? Why is it that they seem to want to make children suffer the way they do, even when they are committing these crimes? Even if we look at Courtney Peters and the sick details we're hearing coming out of the man saying he didn't rape her because he had sex with the child's dead body, thinking that in his mind that is okay, that is something I can explain to the court.
Well, I must say to you, as government, and I think as all community members and community in general, we're really worried about the levels of brutality that's been exercised, and that's been, during all the whole interaction with children and the way children are being murdered. We're really worried, and we kind of see, unfortunately, a kind of, impact of the revolving door in criminality in our communities. So many of our youngsters many times land in prison, and they come out and back into prison. And you know what happened in prison? You get absolutely brutalized by other people. And we have, in the Western Cape, in fact, we're looking at it because I have extensive experience working with the Office of the Inspecting Judge in prisons around the brutality. When they come out, they're not rehabilitated. They come out and they come and act out that kind of brutality that happened to them on our communities and on the most vulnerable. You also see old people being attacked and raped. You see young children, all the vulnerable people in our communities are targeted. And so we really want to call on all our communities and on all kind of structures, the church, everyone, to stop pointing fingers, but to come up and assist us in protecting young children. To come out and say, I want to be part of the solution. And to come out and say, how can I help? We had a child of 2 years over the weekend that disappeared. The mother was so drunk that a very, person with a very good heart took the child away, stopped the police van coming past, and the police said, no, take the child to the police station. Instead of taking the child with them, the case would have been resolved. We were really worried, resources being spent for almost a day, and yesterday the woman took the child back, well fed, cleaned up, to the police station. Yeah. So I'm saying, and I'm happy the mother is still, and she's now today charged with child neglect. Because we must also let the act work. We have a Children's Act that's very potent, that can put you away in prison for a long time for child neglect. We must continue to do that. Our stats are just too horrific, to allow everything to go. And from our side, we are sharpening our response time as social workers from the Department of Social Development to respond to people telling us about child abuse or child neglect, or that the child is in danger. And we must get that right. That's the basics that we must get right.
All right, MEC, well, I hope that call to the good people out there, that, as you referred to them earlier, actually does seep through and get through. Thank you very much, Social Development MEC in the Western Cape, Albert Fritz in our Cape Town studio.